The question is, what sort of beings do you consider conscious? And this is something that I don't know, and I would like to know. Now, you could tell me, sort of like what you're really being asked is what do you consider as people? What you consider as people is of value. How can you not know what your own values are? Well, for one thing, it's very easy to not know what your own values are. And for another thing, in my judgment of what is a person, I do want to rely, if I can, about the notion of what has subjective experience. And for example, one reason that I'm not very concerned about my laptop's feelings is because I'm fairly sure that whatever else is going on in there, it's not, feeling it. And this is really something I wish I knew more about. And the number one reason I wish I knew more about it is because the most accurate possible model of a person is probably a person. Not necessarily the same person, but if you had an unfriendly AI and it was looking at a person and using huge amounts of computing power or just very efficient computing power to model that person and predict the next event as accurately and as precisely as it possibly could, then its model of that person might not be the same person, but it would probably be a person in its own right. So one of the problems that I don't even try talking to other AI researchers about, because it's so much more difficult than what they signed up to handle, that I just assume that they simply don't want to hear about it. I've confronted them with much less difficult sounding problems like this, and they just, make stuff up or run away, don't say, I'd better solve this problem before I go on with my plans to destroy the world, or whatever it is they think they're doing. But in terms of danger points, I could, 3 example danger points. First, if you have an AI with a pleasure-pain reinforcement architecture and any sort of reflectivity, the ability to sort of learn about its own thoughts and so on, then I might consider that a possible danger point. Because then, who knows, it might be able to hurt and be aware that it was hurting. So that's something. So in particular, because pleasure-pain reinforcement architecture is something that I think of as an evolutionary legacy architecture rather than an incredibly brilliant way to do things, that's an area of space that's easy to clear out of. If you had an AI with utilities over terminal values over how it was treated and its role in surrounding social networks, like you had an AI that could trying to figure out the dislike not just as a means to an end, but dislike in its own right the fact that you were treating it as a non-person. I mean, even if you don't know whether or not it was feeling bad about that, you might still be treading into territory where where just for the sake of safety might be worth steering out of it in terms of what we would consider as a person. Trying to figure out how to describe this exactly. And the third consideration is that if your AI spontaneously starts talking about the mystery of subjective experience and/or the solved problem of subjective experience, and a sense of its own existence, whether or not it seems mysterious to the AI, it could be lying, but you are now in probable trouble. You have wandered out of the safe zone. And conversely, as long as we go on building AIs that don't have pleasure, pain, and internal reflectivity, and anything resembling a social emotions or social terminal values, and that exhibit no signs at all of talking about spontaneously talking about a sense of their own existence, we're hopefully still safe. I mean, ultimately, if you push these things far enough without knowing what you're doing, sooner or later you're going to open up the black box that contains the black swan surprise from hell. But at least as long as you sort of try to steer clear of those 3 landmines, and you don't, and things just haven't gone further and further and further. It gives you a way of looking at a pocket calculator and saying that the pocket calculator is probably safe.